Good morning, boys and girls. We're going to be learning about angles today, and this is just a little introduction into what an angle is. We're going to be talking about rays as well, so hope you enjoy. Okay, so to begin, we're going to talk about the different types of angles, and this is how I like to describe it. If you draw an X, like this one here, it creates two of the more popular angles. On the point where the lines cross, at this point right here, they create four different gaps, and we call these angles. We measure angles in degrees, which you will learn. And here we go. Let's learn about the different types of angles. Okay, so this side of the X right here creates an obtuse angle, and I'll point it out by pointing it in blue marker. So the blue right here creates an obtuse angle. Obtuse angles are greater than 90 degrees, which would make an L shape. So this one is greater than 90 degrees, and it's also less than 180 degrees because 180 degrees would make a straight line. Here's a picture of an obtuse angle that I drew for you guys. And here's the straight line that it would create if it were a straight line, but this is a obtuse angle greater than 90, less than 180 degrees. Okay, so back to our X that makes two different types of angles. The one up top and on bottom are called acute angles, and I'll highlight them for you right here so you can tell. So taking away this obtuse angle, you have the acute angle on bottom, or on top and on bottom, and these angles are less than 90 degrees, and that means that they're less than what would make an L shape for you. Here's a picture of an acute angle. So you have the less than 90 degrees. I don't know, kind of looks like a little piece of pie, I think, so it's a good way to remember it. Our last type of angle is a right angle, which is not shown in our X. So the X just shows the obtuse and acute angles. But a 90-degree angle makes your L shape, and it's often identified if you're able to make a box out of the corner right here. If you can make a box, then it's usually a 90-degree angle. So these are the main types of angles that we'll be learning about. Again, a straight line makes 180 degrees. I'll draw one for you right now. This would be 180 degrees, and we do still consider it a type of angle, so consider that when you're asked questions about angles. The next thing we're going to talk about is rays. What a ray is a part of a line that has one starting point but no ending point. So rays go on forever. So for example, we have a starting point here, and I'll let you see this in a second. A ray would look something like this, where it has the starting point, defined right here, and it goes on forever. The arrow means it never stops, so it never has an ending point. Rays can also be labeled, and you label them by the first letter you see on the left, just like you would read a book, the first letter you see on the left to the last letter that you see on the right. So if we were to name this ray, we put 2 points on the ray, and we'll name it R and H because those are my initials. And so this would be ray RH, reading from left to right. So you can see a ray is defined as part of a line, so remember that because that's kind of a tricky subject, a tricky topic. Okay, so now we're going to go on, and I'm going to show you some pictures of angles and rays that you might see in the real world, in your everyday food, that you might not know of because you didn't know what a ray or angle was. So we're going to go ahead and look at those, and we'll see if you understand it better after that. Let's show examples of obtuse angles first. This star fruit here has obtuse angles all around the corners. They're highlighted in black. The corner of this Healthy Choice Cafe steamer has an obtuse angle. The arrow highlights it. This piece of Reese's pie has an acute angle at the very tip. The acute angle formed in this cheese wedge is highlighted by the black drawing. Strawberries have acute angles too. Look at this one. The three corners of this Cool Ranch Dorito all have acute angles. When you cut a PB&J sandwich diagonally, the corners of the sandwich become acute angles. Moving on to right angles, there's a right angle in the middle of this waffle. The corners of this graham cracker also make a right angle. Similarly, the corners of this Hershey's milk chocolate bar make right angles too. Now let's take a look at how we can cut different angles to make new angles. The corners of this slice of Kraft American cheese make right angles. When cut diagonally, similar to the PB&J sandwich, the corners of this cheese slice now make acute angles. This square personal DiGiorno pizza has 4 right angles. When sliced diagonally, there are now 2 acute angles and 1 right angle on this piece of pizza. This piece of pepper jack string cheese makes a 180-degree angle. This also creates a straight line. These 3 noodles also create 180-degree angles.